97% Christians stay trapped with covert narcissist because they miss this. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Narcissist Exposed channel. I hope you're doing great today, and if this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future content. We're diving into a really deep topic today, one that touches on faith, relationships, and emotional health. So get comfortable, because we're going to explore the reasons why Christians sometimes find themselves stuck with covert narcissists and how they can begin to break free. This is a complex topic that many people may not even realize they're living through. For Christians, navigating relationships can be tricky, especially when they involve people who operate under the radar with subtle manipulations and emotional abuse, commonly known as covert narcissism. Covert narcissists are different from the overt type that everyone might think of when they hear the term narcissist. They're not always the loud, arrogant, or openly self-absorbed types. Instead, they're quieter, more insidious, and often use victimhood, guilt, or even spiritual language as a cover for their manipulative behaviors. This makes it particularly difficult for Christians to see them for what they are, which is why so many end up stuck in these toxic relationships, sometimes for years. One of the key reasons Christians stay stuck with covert narcissists is because of their deep commitment to forgiveness and grace. Christianity teaches forgiveness as a core tenet of faith, and that's beautiful, but it can also be a double-edged sword in certain situations. Covert narcissists know how to weaponize forgiveness, using it as a tool to keep their victims from holding them accountable for their actions. They might exploit a Christian's desire to follow Jesus' teachings about turning the other cheek, offering unlimited grace, and loving others unconditionally. The covert narcissist will apologize, promise to change, and invoke God's name to seem genuine, all while continuing the same harmful behaviors. In this way, forgiveness becomes less about healing and reconciliation, and more about keeping the victim trapped in an unhealthy cycle. Another reason Christians might stay stuck with covert narcissists is because of a sense of duty to maintain peace and unity, especially in marriage or long-term relationships. Christianity places a lot of value on the covenant of marriage, and this can sometimes make it difficult for someone to recognize when their spouse is not living up to their end of that covenant. The covert narcissist can be very good at putting on a public face of being a good Christian spouse, serving in church, praying with the family, or talking about biblical principles, while privately undermining, controlling, and belittling their partner. This creates a sense of confusion for the Christian spouse, who might think, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the one who isn't doing enough to make this relationship work. The desire to preserve the appearance of a Christian marriage or family can keep people locked in a toxic situation, even when that relationship is causing deep emotional and spiritual harm. Covert narcissists are often master manipulators, and they excel at using the concept of self-sacrifice to their advantage. Christians are called to be selfless, to serve others, and to follow the example of Christ in laying down their own desires for the good of others. But covert narcissists will exploit this virtue to an unhealthy extreme, convincing their victim that they're being selfish for wanting to set boundaries, for asking for respect, or for seeking emotional safety. They'll twist the message of self-sacrifice to the point where the Christian feels guilty for even considering their own needs. This creates a cycle of giving and giving, while the narcissist takes and takes, often without any sense of reciprocation. The Christian might believe that they're living out their faith by enduring the suffering, without realizing that they're being manipulated into a one-sided relationship where their needs are completely disregarded. On top of this, covert narcissists often present themselves as victims, which can tap into a Christian's instinct to help and care for others. Narcissists love to tell sob stories, playing up their own pain and misfortune to garner sympathy and support. Christians, driven by compassion and a desire to help the hurting, may feel compelled to stick by the narcissist's side, offering emotional support, advice, and encouragement. But the problem is, the narcissist is rarely interested in actually improving their situation or changing their behavior. Instead, they thrive on the attention and validation they receive from constantly being the wounded one in the relationship. The Christian, in turn, becomes the rescuer, thinking that if they just love the narcissist enough, show enough kindness, or pray enough, they can help this person heal. But the truth is, narcissists rarely want to heal. They're more interested in maintaining control, and being seen as a victim gives them the perfect cover to keep manipulating others. Many Christians also struggle with the idea of leaving a relationship because they believe it would be a failure of their faith. This is especially true in churches or communities where there is a strong emphasis on tucking it out in difficult relationships, or where divorce and separation are heavily stigmatized. There's a fear that leaving the relationship would be seen as giving up, or worse, as going against God's will. The covert narcissist may even use spiritual language to reinforce this belief, saying things like, "God hates divorce," or "You're supposed to honor your vows," even though they themselves are not upholding their own responsibilities in the relationship. This can create a sense of spiritual guilt and confusion, making the Christian feel like they're sinning by even considering leaving, even when staying in the relationship is causing significant emotional or psychological harm. Then there's the issue of shame. Covert narcissists are experts at making their victims feel like they're the problem. They subtly undermine their partner's self-esteem, criticize their decisions, and make them feel inadequate or unworthy. Over time, the Christian begins to internalize these messages, thinking that maybe they're the reason the relationship isn't working. They might feel like they're not a good enough spouse, not a good enough Christian, or not doing enough to make the relationship succeed. This shame can be incredibly paralyzing, making it difficult for the Christian to seek help or even admit that there's a problem. They might stay stuck, not because they don't want to leave, but because they feel like they don't deserve anything better. The spiritual aspect of this dynamic can't be ignored either. Covert narcissists often use religious language to justify their behavior or to manipulate their partner. They might quote scripture out of context, using verses about submission, obedience, or forgiveness to keep their partner in line. This spiritual manipulation can be incredibly effective because it's cloaked in religious terms that sound right on the surface but are twisted for the narcissist's own gain. The Christian, wanting to be faithful to God, may feel obligated to follow these distorted teachings, not realizing that they're being manipulated under the guise of spirituality. However, there is hope. Once a Christian begins to recognize the patterns of covert narcissism and understands how their faith is being used against them, they can start to break free. It's important to remember that God does not call us to stay in relationships that are harmful, abusive, or toxic. Boundaries are biblical. Respect and mutual love are biblical. And God's heart is for healing and wholeness, not for enduring abuse in the name of sacrifice. Recognizing a covert narcissist for what they are doesn't mean abandoning faith. It means living out that faith in a way that honors God, honors oneself, and respects the boundaries that are necessary for healthy relationships. So there you have it. It's not easy to break free from a covert narcissist, especially when faith and spirituality are intertwined, but understanding these dynamics is the first step toward healing and freedom. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might need to hear this, And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and take care of yourself. Can a narcissist live without a new supply? Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Narcissist Exposed channel. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Today, we're diving into a topic that's often asked about in the context of relationships with narcissists. Can a narcissist live without a new supply? It's a question that touches on the very core of what drives a narcissist and how they navigate their lives and relationships. Let's get started. When we talk about narcissists, one of the key concepts that often comes up is the idea of narcissistic supply. This term refers to the attention, admiration, and validation that a narcissist needs in order to feel good about themselves. It's like a drug for them, something they crave constantly, and without which they start to feel empty, insignificant, and powerless. Narcissists aren't just looking for occasional compliments or recognition. They need a steady stream of it to maintain their fragile sense of self. This need for supply is what drives much of their behavior, especially in relationships. They might start off as charming, attentive, and seemingly perfect partners, friends, or colleagues. But this is often a calculated act designed to draw you in and secure you as a source of supply. Once they have you hooked, the dynamic often shifts, and you might find yourself being used, manipulated, or even discarded when they no longer find you useful. But what happens when a narcissist loses their supply? Can they survive without immediately finding someone new to fill that void? The short answer is, it's incredibly difficult for a narcissist to live without a new supply. Narcissists are deeply insecure individuals, and their sense of self-worth is heavily dependent on the validation they receive from others. When they lose a source of supply, whether through a breakup, a friendship ending, or even just someone pulling away from them, they experience a kind of withdrawal. It's similar to an addict losing access to their drug of choice. Without that constant stream of validation, they start to feel the emptiness and inadequacy that they've been trying to avoid. In the absence of a new supply, a narcissist may experience intense feelings of anxiety, depression, and even rage. They might try to distract themselves with other activities or seek out temporary sources of validation, such as casual encounters, social media attention, or even revisiting old relationships. However, these are often just band-aid solutions that don't truly satisfy their deeper need for a consistent and reliable source of narcissistic supply. Some narcissists might be able to survive for a short period without a new supply, but it's a very uncomfortable and unstable state for them. They may become more irritable, more desperate, and more manipulative in their attempts to secure new sources of validation. They might also engage in risky or impulsive behavior as a way to distract themselves from the painful reality of their own emptiness. One of the reasons it's so difficult for a narcissist to live without a new supply is because they lack the internal resources to regulate their own self-esteem. Most people, when faced with a loss or a setback, can rely on their sense of self-worth, their achievements, or their relationships with others to help them through difficult times. Narcissists, on the other hand, have built their entire sense of identity around how others perceive them. Without that external validation, they're left with very little to hold on to. This is why narcissists are often quick to move on to new relationships after a breakup or the end of a friendship. They might appear to be thriving, quickly finding a new partner or surrounding themselves with new friends. But this rapid turnaround is usually less about genuine connection and more about their desperate need to refill their supply tank. They can't tolerate being alone with their own thoughts and feelings, so they seek out new sources of validation as quickly as possible. However, it's important to understand that not every narcissist reacts in the same way. Some may retreat inward, becoming more isolated and withdrawn as they struggle to cope with the loss of supply. Others might become more aggressive, lashing out at those around them in an attempt to regain a sense of control. But the underlying theme is the same. Without a new supply, a narcissist is forced to confront the very things they've been trying to avoid: their own vulnerability, insecurity, and lack of self-worth. This is also why the idea of no contact can be so effective when dealing with a narcissist. By cutting off their supply, you're forcing them to face the reality of their own inadequacies. It's a painful process for them, but it's also a way to protect yourself from further manipulation and harm. When you remove yourself as a source of supply, the narcissist is left scrambling to find a replacement, often revealing just how dependent they were on you in the first place. In the long term, can a narcissist truly live without a new supply? The answer is complicated. Some narcissists may learn to cope with the loss of supply by finding other ways to validate themselves, through work, hobbies, or other forms of achievement. But these are often temporary fixes that don't address the deeper issues at play. Without a new supply, many narcissists will continue to struggle with feelings of emptiness and worthlessness, constantly searching for something or someone to fill the void. It's also worth noting that not all narcissists are the same. Some might be able to develop healthier coping mechanisms over time, especially if they're willing to engage in therapy or self-reflection. However, true change is rare, and most narcissists will continue to seek out new sources of supply to avoid facing their own insecurities. For those who have been in relationships with narcissists, it's important to remember that you are not responsible for their need for supply. You deserve relationships that are based on mutual respect, love, and support, not on manipulation and control. By understanding the dynamics of narcissistic supply, you can better protect yourself from being drawn into unhealthy relationships and take steps to build the kind of life you truly deserve. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this community. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with anyone who might benefit from this message, and as always, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Take care of yourselves, and remember, you are worth so much more than being someone's supply. Until next time.